Hello, everyone. Hey, Mom. We'll get this thing started here in just a minute. I'm doing a little more research here. Um, but yeah, comment. Let me know you're here. Hmm. All right. So we'll be talking about trains tonight and how coincidence it is of all these trains that happen or wrecks. Keep an eye on the chat. Uh, what'd you find?
That's where it was. Double track into one.
Where's that at?
It's Jonestown Road.
It's right down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, like I say, we'll get started here in a minute. Let me throw some more, show this out a little bit better. Uh, While we're waiting on more people to come in. Excuse me. So I'm still waiting on notifications to go out. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. But what we're going to talk about is these trains that have derailed and um, what happened and how much of a coincidence it is between a few of these trains in this one area not far from where we live, and it's just goes. It's just strange. Let's just say it that way. It really is. So yeah, comment. Let me know when you're in here. I'm gonna try to bring up some more stuff here. And then say you had some stuff ready. Then we come across a few more things as well that's similar and related in such an odd way that it's hard to believe. Let's see. Let's get some more. Throwing some more notifications out. So, what have you found so far? As far as you go ahead and start with what you got. We'll go ahead and
Okay.
get going here.
All right. Well, the first one I came across was I don't even remember how we started. Why I started looking up trains. I have no idea. But the first one I came across was on July 27th, 1901, and it was a Saturday, and it was a mail train,
Mm-hmm.
and the camera's going
Yeah,
on.
camera move.
But it was a Saturday, and it was going from a town called Marshall, and it was headed towards Tennessee. So you're gonna be thinking it's going from about the west end of North Carolina, sort of kind of northwest towards Tennessee, which is a very common it was a very common route. Went all the way to Knoxville and then some. But about 3 miles from the town of Marshall, the train derailed, and I think it said every car, but one car just flew off the tracks. Some of them went into the river. Some of them went into what it said. Some of them went into a cornfield next to it, and it went sort of down an embankment. So I got to looking um, at pictures and information and everything, and we think we may have found where this train derailed. But there was an engineer. He was from Knoxville, Tennessee. His name was Robert Lee Watson, and he's the only death from that train. Now there were several injuries. I think it said about 10 or 11, and one worker on that train was thrown. I think it was a newsboy. He was thrown from the train through a window, perfectly fine.
Uh-huh.
Everybody received minor injuries from a train that rolls off the tracks down an embankment into the river into a cornfield. One death.
Uh-huh.
And the reason he died was he was pinned between two cars. So it basically crushed him to death. They said he was basically they couldn't identify him. He was unidentifiable. And so I got to researching and looked at some newspapers because I'm always on newspapers.com. But that's just what my life is. But
you love it.
I do. I do love newspapers.com.
Hey, Jenny, how are you?
But hi, Jenny. And I forgot to say, hi, Mom. I forgot to say hi, Mom. But so I looked and it said that it was around the area that another train had wrecked with one person killed. So my spidey senses started tingling. So I went and tried. It didn't give a year. Didn't give, it gave a name, but of course sometimes you got to take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. Because if it's a few years after, names changed, locations changed, things like that. But I did come across another train wreck about the same area, and lo and behold, it went off the tracks, and about 10 people or so were injured. One person died. Now this was just a passenger on the train. This was a passenger train. The other one was a mail train. So it was mostly, people that worked for, the mail cars and stuff like that. MAIL, not MALE, just to make sure that everybody's following. But they, she had suffered from a fractured skull. Didn't exactly say what she'd hit. Probably, a seed, or it could have been a number of things. Yeah. But they sent a wrecker train, which is what they call basically like a rescue train. They have them in the stations. They put them together and they send out to get the people from the trains that wreck. And there were about 30 people on board. Minor injuries, bumps, bruises, scratches, things like that. And then the one lady died. She's from Knoxville. So that's 2 people from Knoxville.
That's 2. And we found a third a while ago. And Jen, yeah, that's my sister. She's
up
here.
Hi. Yes, that's me.
We found a third about 10 minutes before we started. We found another train wreck that happened in 1951. The conductor on that train that died, he was from Knoxville, Tennessee.
So just don't go to Knoxville on a train. Just
don't be a conductor from Knoxville.
Well, the one lady, lady was just don't get on a train.
It's so wild to see that. In the first one was that one you found was 1901.
The first one I found was the second one was June 16th, 1890.
So 1901, and 50 years later, 1951, another person from Knoxville, Tennessee dies. So that's 3 from Knoxville, Tennessee that dies in relation to going to or from Asheville. So we have that now. Now we kind of got an idea where those 2 trains wrecked that wrecked kind of early on, and we kind of have an idea now where that third one wrecked. So we'll be doing investigations in both those spaces for long. Thank you, Jenny, by the way. Um, but that's wild. That it's a coincidence. But the one thing you did find from 1901 was that this same conductor apparently was up in Buffalo, New York,
Mm-hmm.
and spotted some what he found out eventually would be maybe ghost children running around.
Right. So he
So,
was
yeah, you want to get into that?
he was I mean basically, like I was telling my brother, he trained conductors, engineers, all the the workers. They're basically like today's, truck drivers. They go where the trains go.
Mm-hmm.
And so they may be from a certain place, but they're all over. So he was up in Buffalo doing a run, and he did this run twice. I do believe, from what I can gather, it was the same train. And he was going through an old town. There was a crossroads, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets up to the crossroads, and up on the hill there's an orchard.
Okay.
And there was a known graveyard up in the orchard, which is fairly common. They would bury people in an orchard. I haven't figured out the reason for that yet, but I will. Um, but there was two children that had died from smallpox.
Oh.
And they were brother and sister. And he there was, there were stories about them. People had seen them running through the orchard, going to their school and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, best way to get stuff around is word of mouth. So of course he'd heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets to about almost to the crossroads,
Mm-hmm.
where this train's going to go across, and he sees two little kids, a boy and a girl, running down the hill towards the train tracks. They have a little dinner pail in between them, one of those little silver buckets that they would put their lunch in or dinner or whatever. And as soon as that train got to the crossroads, those kids jumped over the track, and it looked like he had hit them.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, like any engineer or conductor would do, he pulled on the brake and stopped the train. They got their little lanterns out, and went through the entire length of the train all the way back to the crossroads where he'd seen those children.
Mm-hmm.
Looked under every car around it. All of the workers had gotten out to look. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So they're like, okay, it happened. Okay. Second time he goes through, same crossroads. He sees the same children, and he quote unquote runs over them again.
Mm-hmm.
He stops the train, gets out, looks under the train. Absolutely nothing. And so they talk about, I think you got that they used to call them haints. The U is somehow missing from old newspapers from Haunted.
Oh, yeah.
Haunted, they would call them haints. But he's like, I think you got them. But the thing about it is that newspaper was published 5 days before he died. Same year.
Same year. And what we were thinking was, so if this is ghost kids, hey Christina, how are you? What we're thinking is, if he saw those children twice, did those children attach themselves to him, to the train, or something like that? And did that eventually lead to the wreck? Now, the wrecks that happened in those same spots were what, 1890 and 1901. And in that same spot, is it track related? Was it train related? Was it too much speed? Or was there something there at that time? And I'd like to do some more research on this. When they built the tracks, they built it over top of something at that time. But was there like maybe a cemetery at one time? Was there something there that could have led to the I mean, in the same spot? And the thing is, with three trains wrecking and the other one being way on down the tracks, all related from Knoxville, and the deaths of three people from three different trains being from Knoxville, Tennessee. What relation is there? I mean, we'll definitely have to get into there and do a research on what those tracks could have been built on. Plus, is there a curse? Was there a curse back in that day or something that allowed those trains to wreck?
Yeah.
Were they all three going from Knoxville to Asheville?
No, the 1890 and 1901. I'm not sure about the third one we found because I haven't had a chance to research it. But these were all going from Marshall to Tennessee.
Okay, so it was.
So they were going back home.
Okay.
The first one, the 1890, the railroad company said that it was the cause of the 1891. They said it was a defective truck on the tender. I had to do a little research because I don't know trains that well. So the tender is basically the coal train. It's the car that holds all of the coal that sits behind the firebox and make the car go or make the train go vroom vroom. So, but the truck is they are the, if you look under a train, you see the little wheels going. These are the smaller ones that they connect the axles to. So it's just like a car. It's like the axle and the, what the wheels attached to with the bearings and stuff like that. So they said that it was the wheels were defective on that coal truck and it made it derail. The people on the train said absolutely not. They said that the last car on the train is the one that went off the tracks, which that would not be a tender. That tender is going to be behind the steam engine to make it go. You have to have it there. So they said that it was rotten ties, the wooden beams that go across the railroad track. They said that they looked rotten to them, and that they believe that the tracks expanded. Now I have done a little bit of research, and they said that sometimes in extreme heat back in the day, train tracks could spread, where they kind of just like a door, and heat and cold and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what I was wondering is, because those people were, they were called basically liars. It wasn't the tracks. The tracks had just been, redone, which they couldn't find any evidence of it being redone or whatever. The second train wreck that happened in 1901, they said the track spread. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of energy there that, because they weren't listened to, because there was so much injury and emotion going on there, it just happened again.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a weather related thing. I mean,
you got June and July.
Yeah, and so you got possibility. Okay, do they build these tracks on a piece of land there at that time that would not accommodate those tracks that well? If it was the expansion of it, well, then what really caused it? Is it something that was track related? Was it something train related, or was it something paranormal related? And we won't know until we get up there, maybe.
Yeah.
As far as paranormal goes, but now as far as research goes, I mean, you got the train, the people with the train saying no, it was the tracks, and the people who did the tracks saying no, it was the train. So I mean, it's wild. But what I'm found interesting was that those two trains wrecked in the same spot, or right at the same spot. The third one on closer to Asheville, that direction. But is it? Here's my thing: 3 trains within
that we found so far. There might be more.
There could be more, but within what, about 60 years roughly?
Yeah, from 1890 to 1951. So yeah, about
60 years. In that 60-year span, how odd is it that 3 trains derailed or collided? Because that third one was a collision, and it all had to do with people from Knoxville dying in it. It's weird how all that works.
I wouldn't find so much coincidence if it wasn't, these 2 that I found, only 1 person died, about 10 people injured, about 30 people on each train.
Yeah.
The numbers are adding up, and they're both from Knoxville. It's just too coincidental for me.
Coincidental. Yeah. I mean, and let me try to bring up that one from 1951 a little bit. Let's see. I'll bring up that one thing. I'll have to download it again. But so this third one we're talking about from 1951, we had really no idea about it until I just happened to be clicking on it before we started the podcast and found this one. So it happened in October of 1951. This is a collision between two trains, and what they said was that the tracks didn't. Is what's it called? Did not um, switch, so the trains could, I guess, pass
Go on
by.
either side, yeah.
So they collided that way. Um,
Now that you mention that, I
mhm,
found that's the same thing that happened in that one that I found that's closer to Tennessee side.
hmm,
And it was coming from Asheville going to Tennessee. One was coming from Tennessee going to Asheville, and they
hmm,
collided because the tracks didn't switch.
hmm. So that's two. Then it didn't switch on tracks, and one just maybe some relation to tracks having issues or speed of the train or the train having a malfunction or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But on the part this in 1951 said the accident occurred on the part of the Knoxville division extending between Asheville and Morristown, Tennessee. So,
Which aren't those
good
far
night, Jenny.
apart from
Thank
each
you for
other.
being here. Um, but again, there's more research we're going to have to do on that one.
And just one person killed there, and about 11 injured. It's
Yeah,
the same amount.
yeah, it's about the same amount all over the place. So every one of these have some relation that are almost exactly alike, and there's probably more. So we'll have to continue to do
Mm-hmm.
more research on it. But this is I mean, paranormal is what you call unexplained. Well, this is kind of an unexplained situation because,
It's too coincidental,
yeah, and thing was, it didn't happen exactly in the same spot,
but it's on the
but they
same
had a
track.
relation in some way. But on the same track, yeah, the track that runs from Asheville to Knoxville. I don't understand all that, but again, there you go.
And one of the articles, I think it was the 1890, mentioned that it was the first death in a long time since a military train had wrecked. And I can't find, so far, I haven't been able to find anything on a military train
Mm-hmm,
or a train with military members on it. It would have to be before 1890.
mm-hmm,
In Marshall, that town, there's no trains before 1882, so it has to be in that 8-year span
mm-hmm.
that something happened, unless it's more on the Tennessee side. But they're about built in the same time, as
Yeah.
far as I can tell.
Okay, Jenny. Thank you. Um, Yeah, I mean, I mean, once you start going way back, it's hard to find certain things on
Mm-hmm.
newspapers.com. Although I will, while you're talking more, I will try to see if I can find another train wreck that happened somewhere. But
Yeah, it's just weird that to me that you know the first one I came across was the 1901, and um, I just so happened to be looking for his name. I thought, well, I see names in a newspaper. I want to see if there's anything else about it, and I just happened to come across that um, train he was on in Buffalo, New York. That just so happened to be a ghost story.
mhm.
I thought, oh, well, that's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you gotta. I mean, and it's published 5 days before he died.
Mhm. I'm talking about his adventures up in Buffalo.
Yeah, and so obviously he's come down from there, and the I think if what I was reading correctly, the original engineer did not want to to I guess drive the train.
Mhm.
You pilot a plane, you drive a car. What do you do with the train?
You're a
Um,
conductor. You conduct
yeah,
it.
he didn't want to be on that train. Apparently, there was
Yeah.
something about it was too new, or it had been um, repaired, or there was something about that train that the original engineer did not want to be on
I
it.
think what I had read somewhere was it was refurbished, I believe, or
Yeah, and
repaired one way or the
and
other.
the original person did not want to do it, so they got this guy, and it led to his death,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
And that
But
was like his first time
it was,
coming from Knoxville to here, or
yeah,
doing that
one of the
trap
first
from
ones,
here to
yeah.
Knoxville. Yeah.
And he just didn't want to do it, and I don't know. I did find another one, and I don't know if the track's related, but there was a train wreck in Saluda, North Carolina,
Mm.
that derailed. I have to do more research on that. I don't know if the tracks are related
Yeah, I don't know.
because I happened to see it as I was looking for train wrecks on newspapers.com, but I can't find a military. It just
I
mentioned it in an article that I saw, so
mm,
I have no idea if
yeah, I've looked. I've not seen anything. I typed in military wreck, train wreck. I'll see what this has got, but this is the um,
it's from Statesville.
yeah, it pulls 6 train cars. This is the Asheville Terrors, by the way, is what I'm looking at. Hey, Bama, how are you?
Bama, hi.
Oh, you're good, Bama. You're good. We'll catch you up. You want to catch Bama
Yeah,
up a little
I'll
bit?
do. I'll do.
And
I'll
let
do a
me
quick
read this
review.
real quick.
I can do this. Okay. So we're talking about trains, and I found two train wrecks. The first one happened in June of 1890. It was on a Saturday, and it was just a normal passenger train. Had about 30 people on board. And it was going through the town of Marshall. A little bit after that, the train derails, and there's different opinions on why it derailed. One said it was a defective wheels on the coal car. The passenger said it was rotten railroad ties that had not been replaced, but the um, the railroad told them no, it had been replaced. Blah blah blah. You know how
They were back and
companies
forth.
go.
They were just back and forth,
Yeah, yeah.
blaming each other.
So one lady died from a fractured skull on that train wreck. There were about 10 injured and 30 people on board. So everybody else received, minor cuts and bruises and things like that. But one person died. Then we have July of 1901, same span of track, a little bit after Marshall on a Saturday. And there's about 30 people on board. About 10 or 11 people were injured, and one person died, which was the engineer. And he was crushed between two cars as they had rolled off an embankment. Some of them rolled into the river, some rolled into the cornfield. And both of these people were from Knoxville. So one person died from Knoxville on each of these trains, 30 people on board, 10 injuries. Um, then before we started the podcast, TJ was looking on some newspapers and stuff like that, and he found another one from 1951. Now this one derailed, or it actually crashed into another train before you get to Marshall, but the track is all connected. It's the same track that goes through Marshall, and there were about 11 people injured. It didn't say how many people are on board that I could tell from first looking at it, so I'm not sure. But one person was killed, and they were from Knoxville. Um, so it's a little too much coincidence for my taste.
Mm-hmm.
Something has to be up with that. But the odd thing about it is, the one in 1901, he the engineer that was on the train that died. There was another article in the newspaper that I found, and he was on a train, an engineer on that train, and he was going through Buffalo, New York, and he was going towards a certain crossroads in that area next to a orchard on a hill. It was an orchard. They didn't say what kind, but there was a graveyard in that orchard, and two children, brother and sister, had died from smallpox, and they were buried together. And he was going towards the crossroads, and he could see two little kids, a boy and a girl, running down the hill with a little dinner pail in between them. And by the time he got to the crossroads, and by the time those kids got down um, down the hill to the tracks, they met at the crossroads, and he had thought he run over them because they jumped right onto the tracks right when he went by. So he, of course, stopped the train. All the workers get off. They get their little lanterns, the old school oil lanterns, which I would want to have. I want all the lanterns. But they went through the entire train all the way back to the crossroads because it takes a while to stop a train. all the way back to the crossroads, looked underneath that train, could not find kids anywhere. So they thought, okay, there's been sightings of those kids before, so it's probably that. Well, a little while later, he goes through this crossroads again on the same train, same crossroads, sees the same two children. They jump on the track. He goes right over them. They stop the train, look, find nothing. I think they found a cow in the field beside it. I think it mentioned a cow that was going home, um, which obviously doesn't look like two kids carrying a dinner bucket between them. But couldn't find any children. Now, this article was published 5 days before that guy died.
Hmm.
So that's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
Welcome, Bama.
Yeah, welcome back.
Did you take notes? There'll be a quiz.
Yeah. Now, one thing, I'll jump to something else real quick. I did find in Silva, there was called the Fugitive train wreck. That's from the movie.
Oh yeah, you
The
can
Fugitive, yeah.
you can ride on the Great Smoky Mountain Railroads and see that.
Yeah, it's down there. It's you can see the wreckage of the train and the bus and the all that. It was from the movie The Fugitive. That had what's his name?
Is that Rob? No.
Was it Harrison Ford? Harrison Ford was in it.
I want to say Robert Redford for some reason. I don't know why I don't like him.
Yeah, this is the most recent one that they did several years ago, but that's kind of cool. But now I did find also. Oh, you're welcome, Bama. Let's see. Was that the Bostina?
Boston.
Boston. Bosta or Bostian. It's an accident. Is that the one you're looking at from 1890?
No.
Okay, so this is a different.
That's 1891.
This is 1891. All right, at 2:30 in the morning, an overnight sleeper train and steam locomotive 166 left Statesville, North Carolina, pulled into or pulled 6-car train, a first and second class car, a tender baggage car, a Pullman sleeper, and a superintendent's private car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. The train was on the Western North Carolina Railroad known as Richmond and Danville. And it took its passengers from Salisbury to Asheville, North Carolina. Now, let me get down here where I can scroll better. It was about 35 minutes behind schedule. The train and the train's engineer had them traveling at a healthy clip of 35 to 40 miles per hour to catch up to its timetable. Within 5 minutes of leaving Statesville, the train was coming upon the what'd you say it was? The Boston. Boston. Yeah, okay. I'll make sure I'm pronouncing it right.
I don't know. I'm just
yeah. Train bridge, a 5-span bridge of brick and natural stone. It would carry the train over Third Creek, some 60 feet down into a steam bed. The passengers were all sleeping peacefully when suddenly hell broke loose. Due to unknown circumstances, the train jumped the tracks and violently derailed. The wooden passenger car splintered and burst apart as they crashed over 60 feet into 2/3 streamable below. The speed train had been going, meant it was airborne when it left the tracks. The sleeper car flew 153 feet through the air before it landed into a creek bed. By some miracle, not everyone died, was instantly killed on board, rather. Those who managed were forced to not only escape the carnage, but then walk back to Statesville Station for help.
Oh, jeez.
So there's another one closer to Statesville area. There was no hospital in Statesville or nearby towns at the time. The survivors were taken into people's private homes. And now this is 1891, by the way. A local farmer's tobacco warehouse was used to keep mangled corpse of the dead after they were pulled from the wreckage via the search and rescue workers. In the end, 23 people were either killed in the wreck or drowned afterwards. It's still considered one of Iredell County's worst disasters.
Now I was listening to you read how the train broke apart. It's almost exactly how they described how the train broke apart in 1901.
Mm-hmm.
Splintered wood and metal everywhere. It said it just looked like it just got thrown off the tracks.
Now that was what would it say, 153 feet?
Yeah, it went airborne.
I mean, that sucker went. I mean, it was
Yeah,
in the air.
the way they described it, it looked like somebody just there was just a big old gust of wind and just pushed it off the tracks, and some of them rolled like I think it's 12 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And that I mean those are heavy cars.
Yeah, that train must have been really,
It was
really
booking it.
going. Well, it said 30 to 45 miles an hour. But that's pretty fast for a train, I would say, especially back in that day.
Yeah.
It said it was a media circus as haunting pictures of the devastation in local papers.
Mm.
Photographers like William Stimmus, I don't know these people, Mr. Van Ness sold hundreds of photographs. Why would you sell that? Well, I guess the newspapers. Um,
Morbidity sells.
yeah, that's true. Almost a week after the accident, the coroner's inquiry officially determined the train derailed because some spikes holding the rails together had been stolen.
The railroad spikes were
The
stolen?
railroad spikes were stolen.
How did they get them up out of there? They're
Um,
driven into the thing.
they had the Incredible Hulk have them. I don't know that's yeah that. Others speculated the railroad and the bridge whole infrastructure had been shoddy for a while, and this kind of disaster has been so. In other words, what they were saying that the bridge was in bad shape. So there's another one of these cases of blaming something. At the time, the R&D railway experienced a shortage of finances, so they worked to find the culprits and stave off suits for damage. Um, they did find two men in 1897. The men were already in jail, and they confessed to the crime to their fellow inmates. So they did steal the spikes.
Mm-hmm.
They did steal it. So it was a situation where they stole the spikes.
You said it's Salisbury, right? That's where the North Carolina Transportation Museum is, and they've got trains galore there. That's where the train goes through. I bet you it went through there.
Obama says over the years those spikes come loose enough to be pulled.
Well,
So
I want one.
well, not
I
well.
mean, not one off the
Go
track,
buy
obviously,
one.
but yeah,
Go buy one.
not obviously off the track.
Yeah, go buy one.
I just want all the old things I can get.
Even though suspects were captured, those who perished seem to still linger. Every year on the anniversary, the ghost train replays its last trip. So, and this is Asheville Terrors again. This is a website that I'm not associated with by no means, but I do like to read from. So it said on the 50th anniversary of the accident in 1941, a couple's car broke down on the side of the road. The wife was waiting on her husband to return with a new tire. There was a train whistle in the distance, and she felt the rumbling of an oncoming train. The headlight swept through the trees as she watched the old-fashioned steam locomotive head towards the Bostania Bridge. The train jumped the tracks to her horror as it hit the bridge and crashed into the creek bed. Um, she said she could hear the splintering of the wooden cars and the passengers screaming and crushing metal. She ran to the embankment to the edge and saw a twisted mass of wreckage being folded by the water on the third creek. She told her husband when he returned what she had seen and was about to send him for help. It was an eerie silence when he ran to the side of the cliff at the creek bank below. There was nothing in the creek bed. So she witnessed this whole thing from 50 years ago play out exactly how it happened, and it was all an apparition she saw. It was just uh, she saw it, but of course nothing was there. So she got to witness something that nobody else witnessed except for the wreckage. He said he tried to play it off as a nightmare. She fell asleep while waiting on him, determined that she had seen something awful They went to the Statesville train station and talked to the clerk at the window. When she asked him about the train wreck, he told her there had been a lot of accidents that night, but it was pretty strange. She was asking about the anniversary of the 1891 disaster 50 years previously. Um, as he explained the story of the disaster, the woman screamed in terror and fainted. She realized she had seen a ghost train reliving its last moments. Other anniversaries, people claim to have heard screeching of wheels trying to stop and screams from doomed passengers. A ghostly figure of a uniformed railway employee who wears a gold watch showed up on the accident's first anniversary. It's believed to be the baggage master Hugh K. Lannister, who was found with a broken neck on the tracks.
I found the newspaper article from the.
You did find it.
Yeah.
Um,
There was a man from Asheville who helped get people out of the wreckage,
oh, wow.
and his name was Marshall.
Marshall, oh, God. Relations at all.
Paw Patrol.
Yeah, it was a residual haunt. Could you imagine being there and witness that happen, and then you go over to the edge and look, and there's nothing there?
You'd think you were going insane. Can you imagine hearing that? Like hearing all that crunching metal.
Oh yeah, and just witness
and
it.
Wood and everything. You know it's just a disaster, and you're trying to prepare yourself for that, and there's nothing there.
Well, there's nothing you can do. But see, back in that, so that was 1941. So back then, you didn't really. I guess the paranormal wouldn't been what it is today, where you would think, God, I saw a reason. She
Aliens,
fainted,
maybe.
huh?
Aliens, maybe.
Yeah, aliens.
Yeah.
But I mean, she fainted because she heard a story from 50 years previous.
Yeah, I probably would have too, honestly. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, to witness that is enough. But to go and find that it's the 50-year anniversary of when it happened,
right?
It's just that's just the final straw.
Yeah, Bama. He said, "Imagine seeing it coming straight at you." Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, I love trains, by the way.
I love trains.
So he does too. But I mean, what we're finding is, I mean, this is something else. I just now found myself. So we're learning something else about a ghost train here.
Yeah. And that other train, the one in 1901, it was about 3:00 in the morning that it went off the tracks.
Wow.
And this was 2:45 in the morning. So
it says the next article says when ghost hunting goes too far. It's still part of the same article I'm reading. It said in 2010, on the 119th anniversary of the disaster, a team of amateur ghost hunters, about 10 to 12, came to the bridge to investigate and hopefully record a ghost train. Now, this is amateur, so these people probably not been doing maybe just a few weeks or so, maybe a month or so. 3 people were on the bridge illegally when at 2:45 in the morning, a Norfolk Southern train came barreling down the bridge. Since it was around the accident, those on the track were frozen, thinking it was the ghost train bearing down on them. Those few seconds it took to realize it was authentic train aiming for them ended up costing them dearly. While 2 could escape with injuries, one 29-year-old man named Christopher Kaiser was killed when he was hit by the train. A woman Kaiser was trying to save fell about 12 feet from the bridge and was rushed to the emergency room in Charlotte due to her extreme injuries, but she managed to survive the accident. So don't get on the train tracks. Observe from a distance.
Yeah. Be careful when you're ghost hunting, please. Even if you think it might not be real, always operate under the assumption that it could be real.
Yeah, always. But imagine catching that train on video or something, or at least the sound of what was going on. That would be disturbing. Although, if I could get to that area, I wouldn't mind to do it on the anniversary dates. But
it just had its 130th anniversary.
Yeah, 130 years. But residual hauntings, those things. I'm sure that train haunts that area, especially on the anniversary. Maybe even more than that. Maybe even more so than that. Um, I don't know. Uh, let's see. So there's been another death there because of somebody on the tracks.
Mm.
These people standing on the tracks thinking, "Oh, that's a ghost train coming at me." I don't care if it's a ghost train or not. Get the hell off the tracks. Let that ghost train
Yes,
go on
just,
by
I
you.
mean, you don't need to be on the tracks,
Yeah, yeah.
especially if it's an active track.
Yeah, I mean, don't do that.
At least check the logs and see when a train would be coming, because I mean they have to do just like planes.
Yeah.
They have to log when they're going to go through a certain. Now they may be an hour or two late, that or early, but if it's an active track, just for safety's sake, just stay off of it.
Yeah, just stay off of it. And let me do this. Let me copy this. What I was just reading, I will put it in the AK laws. I'll put it in here to where y'all can read it. I know Bama loves to go back and read stuff too. But that's the train wreck I was just talking about, Bama, and everybody's just joining us. Um, you can read the whole story.
And later I'll put I'll screenshot some of those articles that I found.
Yeah, put those on Twitter if you could.
Yeah.
And then we can, or on Facebook too, I guess. Um, but that's so. This is something I just came across. Well, Celia's reading stuff she's been researching for the past few weeks. This would be interesting if I was a paranormal investigator. I would definitely, since having being told this story about um, a ghost train from 1941. If I was a paranormal investigator in that area, I would be doing it every year on the anniversary
It only
to see
takes
if
an
I
hour and
catch
47
an
minutes
hour
to
and
get
40.
there.
Yep, it's not bad.
Hint, hint.
So yeah, I would definitely, especially if I lived right there in that area, I would definitely be recording as much as possible to see what I could get. I mean, that's sad that all these things happen, but I mean, um, I don't know. Um,
The train runs right past the Boston Bridge. It's right there on the side of the road. Look at all the railroad ties. I'm looking at Google
they're,
Maps.
they're, they're throwing it all they threw away from railroad ties.
Yeah, I'll take all those.
So apparently, according to that one, I guess it was spikes that were pulled up. Um,
Well, back in the day, metal could get you a pretty good price, I
mhm.
guess.
Yeah, I'm sure. Spikes probably brought in a lot too. um,
I'm just suggesting.
but so that was interesting. I mean, it's funny how I'm finding stuff and you found stuff and
Well, yeah, I
we're
mean,
coming across things that are coincidental.
I have a bad habit of just putting in anything that happens before 1940 because I
Mm,
just like old stuff.
right.
I need to learn to put in more modern stuff and I can find more stuff.
Yeah. Um,
And of course, I've just been looking around Marshall and Asheville too.
let's see. Train wrecks and accidents. There's another. It's called GenDisasters.com. GEN.
Oh,
There's a lot. In the North Carolina area, here's one from 1908 in August of 1908. That's Saluda.
oh, that's I know. I just now clicked on that a little while
Okay.
ago. Saluda is one of the oldest train depots
Hmm.
that you'll find in the area, and it's still got the old train depot there. You can go and see the train depot, but it's one of the. Uh, okay, Mama, stop getting weird words.
Mom got Carolina.
Well, see
Well,
the
Bama
thing
got
about it is
friendship, and
you want to know what the train's name that wrecked?
which train was that one?
The one that wrecked in I don't know if it's that one, but the one that wrecked in Saluda. You want to know what the name of it is?
What was that?
The Carolina Special.
The Carolina
See,
Special.
Mom, stop it, stop it.
Um,
But it's because there is a really steep grade in
mhm.
Saluda, and it's very very dangerous. You have to be a really good conductor and engineer to be able to do that. But yeah, it's called the Carolina Special. So thanks, Mom.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for bringing up Carolina. So there was another one in Swananoa.
Oh, interesting.
1902. No, wait a minute. I think is it 1902?
It
Yeah,
says
August.
yeah.
Not August. Another
It says
August one.
June, July, and August.
Yeah, don't travel in those
Just
time
don't just
frames,
stay
guys.
at home.
Got recording. Uh, Bama's gotten some words too, and he got where was one I saw he had? I meant to say
Friendship, war,
friendship
threat, incident.
incident. Yeah, yeah. And Mom got incident earlier. But Bama got I think friendship
Yeah,
and yet
raise
so
and odd.
odd.
Yes, all these things we're talking about are very odd
Odd, yes.
because they match.
So this is train number 11 from the east. Although the engine and three cars went down the high embankment, the engine being completely broken into pieces and three of the cars practically wrecked. All trainmen and passengers escaped with their lives, and no one was injured.
Oh, good.
That was one, but nobody died or got
Maybe they broke the
severely injured.
curse.
Well, no, that was
Well, no,
1902, so that
yeah,
continued to
because
happen
it can't be.
eventually.
It's just they had guardian angels.
Yeah.
Engineer Roosh landed on the roof. Oh, he landed on the roof of the cab.
Oh wow.
Mm.
So these are we're just trying to we came across some things about trains, and so the two that C was talking about from 1901 and 1890, we're going to try to investigate those places. We've got an idea about where that happened.
We could probably do the one going into Craggy too.
Yeah, if we can get a good
I'll try.
idea.
I'll go to my Sanborn fire maps and
Yep,
see what I can find.
the Sanborn fire maps will help you a
They are
lot.
my new best friends. I wish I had them. I just want to cover my entire wall with Sanborn fire maps, even maybe on the ceiling.
Yeah.
But yes, if you need to find out where something was at, as long as it's an established city, like they don't have any like Black Mountain. They don't have any for Black Mountain. They have Marshall. It just depends on if they were commissioned to do one in that city.
Mm-hmm.
From what I can understand. But if you need to find something that's old, that you need, maybe even roads have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there was a road where there's a parking lot now, but something happened on that road. You can investigate in the parking lot because that's where it happened. But you won't know that if you don't look at Sanborn fire maps.
Yeah, because those things are helpful. Because just where you found that bakery at,
Yep.
in the arts district, that I was like, here I am recording at the silos and getting cupcakes and chocolate. And I couldn't figure out why. Well, see, you used the Sanborn maps and found it'd be gum back in the 1920s if there wasn't a bakery there.
Yeah.
Right in that same area, right beside it.
Bama, it's Sanborn. Take that D out of there. It's SAN.
Sand, S-A-N?
Yeah,
I thought it was
SAN.
sand too.
It's the Sanborn is a company.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Okay.
SANBORN.
Okay.
And it's on Library of Congress for free. Anybody can look at it. It's loc.gov. I'm gonna say .gov and get people after me. But you can just Google. Sometimes I'll just put Sanborn fire maps, Asheville or wherever.
And I thought you were saying sand, like S-A-N-D. Like,
Yeah,
like
that's right,
Bama.
Bama.
I
Yep.
thought, like Bama was saying Sanborn. I thought, wait, because I never have looked it up, but okay, now
Yeah,
I know.
it was a company that they were
now.
commissioned to do. It was basically for fire insurance. And
Mm-hmm.
so if something happened, okay, my place burned down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, and if the fire, especially if the fire brigade firemen have to go and put out the fire, they know what's in there.
Mm-hmm.
They know what kind of materials, if it's made of metal, if it's made of wood, stuff like that, what's in there. And like, especially like old hospitals everywhere in Asheville. There's hospitals everywhere and sanitariums. But now they're like apartment buildings and parking lots.
And underground or whatever.
Yeah.
Or buried now at
Yeah.
this point. Got Charles and overwhelmed. Died. His voice. So yeah, I mean, finding that last one that we found, talking about the lady who saw the ghost train. That's interesting. That's
Which I wish I would have
wild.
known that when I went to the North Carolina Transportation Museum.
Well, I mean, some things are still hidden pretty well. I mean, they don't always put stuff out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure they don't want the the touristy stuff because some people
Mm-hmm.
see that. Did you hear me coming from mom?
Yeah.
I hear that in a different voice.
Did
Did
you
you
hear me?
hear me?
Did you hear me? Um, we used to hear that a lot
I'm
growing
like,
up.
yes, mom. Sorry, I heard you.
Um, but eventually, woods and clutter. That's kind of what it would be. In the woods, it'd be cluttered up with all that train wreck.
Yeah, and the other ones from Marshall, there's trees all around it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there were some cornfields, but on the other side, it's all forest.
Mm. Well, and I know y'all are probably using the ghost tool or whatever, spirit talker and all that stuff, but I went and filmed today at Newton Academy and got licked to death by a dog.
Cool.
Yeah, that was fun. But I did do a little investigating there, but it wasn't long. So I headed up to Helen's Bridge to do an investigation. And as I was investigating, I came across my first, well, not first word, but early on, I got the word pet. I thought, wow, that's interesting, pet. I didn't think much of it. So I walked up to this other part, which is like an in between the top and the bottom of the bridge, and I got let's see, what else did I get? So yeah, well, I walked up there, and I don't remember what I got up there. It was not much. It wasn't a whole lot I got up there in that one little area. But the one thing I did find was a poster of a lost cat. Somebody had lost their cat, and I got pet right before I walked up there. And there was another word that I got. Let me see if I can
Yes, but
find
here's
it.
the thing: was it a real cat or a ghost cat?
Well, I don't know, but the
Because
poster had a missing cat for about a week.
mm,
It had been about a week ago. Let me see what my other. I got another word that kind of triggered me thinking that.
I love doggies too, Bama.
I did get tree. Let's see. Hang on a minute. Let me look. Poster. That's the other word I got. So I got pet at the bottom of the bridge area. I walk up and see a picture of a cat that's missing, and then the last word I get before I leave is poster. So a poster of a cat. So the spirits are trying to find that cat too. I guess I don't know. But use that ghost tool because that stuff works.
Mm.
It's amazing what words you'll get
Oh
that
yeah,
relate to what you're doing.
except for when you want Jane to put her name into it because
Jane's stubborn.
she's very stubborn. I'm looking at you, Jane.
Jane is stubborn.
I'm
She's
looking at you.
very stubborn. She'll light things up occasionally, but
Yeah.
she's stubborn about her name. She don't. She's a. I think she's a game for her
Well,
now.
see, the last time you asked her, can you put your name into the device?
Mm.
What did I get? Your
Your
name.
name. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what she did. Okay,
She's.
your name.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also got when I was at Riverside Cemetery. I talked about this the other night, but I walked up to Patrolman Bailey's headstone. First word I got was flag. I looked down to the right of me and there was a flag.
Mm.
Bam, I put Jane, Jane, Jane.
You say it 3 times, she'll visit you.
Maybe. Maybe she'll put her name there if you say it
It's
three
like
times.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah. But anyway, so this was a pretty good. Anybody got any questions, by the way, about the trains and stuff? Before we call it a night. This has been an interesting scenario of stuff going on and how coincidental some of these are.
We might have to do a part 2 after we get some more research
Well,
done.
we'll do what we're planning on doing is filming and the location where two of them wrecked, and then maybe the third one that we talked
The
about,
Crag one in
the one
Craggy,
in
yeah.
Craggy. But we can definitely see what we get, if anything. Hopefully, we will, and then do another podcast and tell you all what we found.
Yeah, and I'll look in to see if I can find any more train wrecks or anything that matches
Mm-hmm.
whatever we've been looking at.
Bama got drag, and then Mom got we live on.
Sounds like a song. We live on.
We live on.
It probably is a song.
We are dead, but we live on.
We are the champions.
But yeah, I mean that's.
It's just so weird to find 3 train wrecks of the same amount of people injured, same amount of people died, one for each one.
Mm-hmm.
All of them from Knoxville.
Yeah.
About 10 people died. I don't know. I have to look, but I don't know how many people were on that third train that we found. How many passengers? But the first two that I found, they had about 30 people on board, 25 to 30.
Excuse me.
And I mean, they were different types of trains. One was a passenger, and one was a mail car. But they have similar cars. I mean, they just use them for different things because there were other people on that mail car. But I need to also keep track of the numbers of the engines.
Yeah, the and the thing is, what do you think the stretch is of miles between those three wrecks? The first two probably within a couple miles of each other.
Well,
If
from
even
what I
that.
can tell, after they left Marshall, like the 1890 train,
Uh-huh.
it said it was about a mile and a half to 2 miles from Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
The second one in 1901 said it was about 3 miles from Marshall. But what I can understand is after that 1890 wreck, they did some repairs.
Right.
And it seems like they were suggesting, I can't find anything that says, hey, we did some new tracks. Because they'll tell you when who's visiting somebody's uncle, but they won't tell you when they fix a track.
Yeah, you know.
But from what it suggests, they changed the track plan.
Yeah.
And so they possibly made it longer to where, or shorter, I'm not sure. But it seems to me they're suggesting that it was the same curve that both trains went derailed
They
because
both went off an embankment.
Yeah, and there's an embankment there, and the 1901 newspaper article says it was the area where another lady died from Knoxville on a train wreck. So obviously it's the same area.
Same area, and then the other one's back towards Asheville, and so
that'd probably be what
5-6 miles, maybe
I would
more.
say.
I don't know.
Maybe.
We have to kind of do a little more research,
train,
but
I'm going by road train.
So we have what we figured out from this. So all three were heading back from Asheville to Knoxville.
Yes.
2 of the train's engineers died, both from Knoxville. Then a passenger on one of the trains died from Knoxville.
I need to look up all these names and see if they're related.
All 3 people who died are from Knoxville.
I'd love to see if they have any relation with each other.
Right.
I mean, like descendants, or
that would be interesting if they were all cousins or something.
Yeah, something. I mean, their names obviously aren't the same, but I mean that doesn't mean anything. But I'll look up all the names and see what I can find, because I found the engineer that died in 1901 and the passenger who died in 1890. I found both of their grave sites.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, of course, they're in Knoxville, and that's really far. But I wonder, that third one, did they take him back to Knoxville? I need to do some more. I'm gonna be up.
Because that one they went to the hospital here.
Yeah, I'll be up for a long time.
Yeah, Celia loves this stuff. So Bama got Be Wary, and then Mom got Hide. But it's just weird how in a 60-year span how that happened.
I mean, how coincidental is that they're all from Knoxville?
Mm-hmm.
All trains had just one person die, and the same amount of injured people. How does that happen? There's something about that span of track.
I don't know. It's weird because now I don't know. Now of course, unless you're from here, you're probably not going to know what I'm talking about at all. But there's a train tracks that goes from Asheville that will go all the way across towards Tennessee. There's another train track that goes into the mills. Now, if you see my Dewey video where I filmed at the mills, that's where that train track ends in that area, and it kind of loops back around to the backside of Woodfin. It doesn't go down the river, but I wonder if sometime it did go down the river. And it just switched.
I shall look at my Sanborn Fire maps and tell you.
But it's that'd be interesting if I don't know. I don't know if it did or not. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked. And also, I could probably look up Southern Railway history, because they've got, documentation of, where the track was laid and stuff like that. So I need to look at Southern Railway too, because that's who conducted around here is Southern Railway. Because you can see on the Sanborn fire maps that it says Southern Railway.
Right.
And the old depot, the beautiful depot that they got rid of. I'm irritated with that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was a beautiful depot in that picture.
But that was a Southern Railway passenger depot, so it's all that that same thing. So I'll look up the Southern Railway because they're still current.
Yeah.
It's the Norfolk Southern now, but I think.
Wow. Well, guys, I think we're going to get ready to end it. Unless anybody has any questions about anything or comments or anything. Be back on Friday night to do an investigation out here again. We may circle it around Jane since she wants to play, but not put her name and stuff. See if she lights anything up, at least.
He's going to come get you.
She stayed in the bedroom with me for a long time. She never bothered me, but she likes to. She likes to do stuff. Just. I don't know. She.
Oh, I did find Thomas's middle name.
Oh, what's
or who I suspect Thomas is?
Okay, what's his middle name?
Eli.
Eli.
We get Eli. That. We get Eli a lot.
We do get Eli.
He was. He is family. I found a Thomas that lived around here that died around the.
I'm protecting you. Now you said Jane's going to get you, but she said I'm protecting you. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that was Jane because
no, that's maybe Mom protecting me.
Well. I don't know.
I am the favorite.
Oh yeah, well
I'm kidding.
Bama, Jane, you're a sweetheart. That's from Bama. All right, guys. So I guess we're going ahead and cut it here. Hope everyone enjoyed the podcast. We'll do another podcast sometime down the road. What we have found next Wednesday night on our podcast. We'll have Through the Veil Paranormal up here. Nicole will be here next Wednesday night, the 6th of October. Be our first podcast of the new month going into Halloween. My newest video I put up yesterday of the abandoned buildings. That was my first video for Haunted Halloween for this month. So yeah, there you go. There we are. Yeah, Bam, I know sometimes those notices don't go out right.
Sometimes I have to go and click off the bell and click back on it again.
Does that help?
Because YouTube changes their algorithms constantly.
So there you go. You might have to change the bell.
That and
check the bell.
Go click off that bell and click it back on again and see if that helps.
There's been times Bama's gone live and I've not. All of a sudden, he's been live for 30 minutes or something. I'm like, damn.
You went live one week and like 3 days later it came up. Hey,
oh, there you go.
TJ's live. I was like, no, he ain't. He's sitting right here.
No, I'm sitting right here with you. Oh well. All right, everybody. Bama, have a wonderful night. Everybody have a wonderful night. Be back Friday night for an investigation, guys. Love you. Good night.
Bye.